Well, tonight's going to be a fun one. Just like on the liberal view, I think tonight on the conservative view, there's going to be some excitement. Let's start off with introductions.
Ed Bertorelli, Chairman of Milford Republican Town Committee.
Chris Morin, member of the FinCom.
I'm Bob Burns, and I'm Hopedale Board of Selectmen, Hopedale Water Sewer Commissioner.
Eddie, what's going on with the Republican primary? I am totally baffled.
Today, just as I was leaving, I think Brett Baer was on and someone else, and they mentioned that this is one of the most interesting political cycles because someone was talking about how they were having a vacation in Maine and they vowed they'd never watch television, but they turned it on one day and Donald Trump came on and they couldn't turn it off. They were just fascinated and captivated by the way he phrased things. And the fact is, if you're a seasoned politico, like I am for quite a few years, he breaks all the molds. He takes everything and turns it upside down, and he basically, hits a chord saying, I'm an anti-politician. And I think the country in both parties is ready for an anti-politician because they voted repeatedly, and we've said it before, we have a two-party system, but there are many, many people in the country who are dissatisfied with the way both parties operate.
Sure.
And I think Obama, President Obama, has brought that to a head on both sides. I regarded a lot of his administration as lawless. That if he doesn't agree with a thing, he basically comes in and changes things. And so the respect for the law is minimal in his case. I think many people are saying, hey, let's take back the country. Let's see what's going on here, and take someone who maybe has succeeded in business and forward. So that's the Trump appeal, but also you've got Ben Carson, you've got Carly Fiorina, who are both outsiders. You've got a couple of governors who are quietly moving around in the polls. The establishment candidates, say a Jeb Bush or people like that, or even Ron Paul or Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio's, the air seems to be getting sucked out of the campaigns because Donald Trump is a very entertaining person.
But now, okay, in business, he can get away with, you work for me. Chris, you're stupid, but you're going to do what I say. When I hear him saying that everybody in Washington is stupid, and they do stupid things, and the Mexican government is so much smarter than them because they're not stupid, I wonder now if I'm calling you stupid, and you can't fire me. He can't go into the Senate and say, you're fired. They're elected.
We wish.
But what is his chances of actually being a leader to people he's calling stupid?
Well, it's certainly a big question, whether you win the election and whether you're effective after the election. I mean, with that type of personality, there's a big difference. And I can't echo enough what Ed said, is that really this comes down to the fact that people are sick of the way that politics has been run in this country for a long time. And you see it where if it's a democratically controlled Congress or a Republican-controlled Congress, you see the big swings every 3 or 4 years because people are fed up with the way things are happening. Yeah. And now what you're seeing is presidential candidates come in and people are finally saying, you know what, I'm sick of the old, I don't care if it's a TV show right now, because that's what it is with Trump. It's a TV show. That this is appealing to me, and I'm ready to try anything different. And that's why you'll find that most of the candidates who do not have a political background, or a small one in some of them, are gaining a lot of traction. And where our other candidates, who are established political figureheads, are slipping in the polls. And that's on both sides.
Bob, do you see him as a flair, or has he got staying power?
Well, Don Trump is, I don't know if you've ever seen Donald Trump in person, but I have, and he has an entourage of photographers that follow him around that are his photographers. So when he drives up and he comes in and gets behind a microphone, all you see is flash bulbs going off. So everybody immediately gravitates towards that area. They're like, what's all the excitement? And so now you have a crowd there, and you have all these flash bulbs going off. And then when he leaves, all the flash bulbs leave with him. Now, I've read Donald Trump's books. Donald Trump gets up at about 6 in the morning. He works out for an hour. He has breakfast, and he starts work. He ends work about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. He has dinner at 9. He does this 7 days a week. Now, I look at that and I say to myself, when is he going to have time to be a president? Because he's got to do this to keep his empire going. My personal opinion is Donald Trump is in there to guide the rhetoric right now, to guide the topics that they're talking about, the topics that he is hypersensitive about, and as soon as he starts controlling the narrative, he's going to fade away. And people are going to have to pick up the narrative, because you're going to show up on a show and people are going to say, Al, what do you think about illegal immigrants? And because Donald Trump has made it a household word now.
He just today, and by the way, what we should say so people know what day we film this, Tom Brady was vindicated exonerated today, but
Found
he
not
did,
guilty.
at the same time, Donald Trump signed, quote, the loyalty pledge that said he wouldn't run as a third-party candidate. We certainly wouldn't want anyone to pull a Ross Perot
Right.
that defeated the first president.
Or a
Bush.
Nader, or,
Oh,
you know.
yes, exactly. And, that's part of the MO. I think, we talked about this off air. I think part of the thing that I find troubling about him is that he phrases things, to me, in a way that's almost purposely confrontational. And he has a compelling story about immigration. As I said to you guys before, his mother's an immigrant from Scotland. She's from part of Scotland where they basically still speak Gaelic. And I don't know what other candidate can say that their mother or their father is an immigrant, or maybe Marco Rubio.
Rubio.
But you phrase it, but again, they're two of our candidates. You phrase it in a way that you introduce the whole thing of legal immigration for people who wanted to come here for a reason to better themselves, to work, to educate themselves, and contrast it with other issues.
But now today they come out and they say the survey shows that more than 40% of immigrants are on state aid or federal aid.
Good grief.
Yeah, 43.
It's like,
It was 43.
43. I knew it was over 40.
Good grief.
How do you frame that? I mean, any way around a 43% number?
Yes, but when Donald Trump first raised it, the media immediately started talking about we're going to cancel golf tournaments at his places, we're going to do whatever. So there's a political speak that won't acknowledge this problem that we have people. And, the big issue is, and he took on the, quote, the Mexican government. It's very clear the Mexican government down there is basically losing control of their own country. The drug cartels down there are very powerful within their countries. As we said once in the show, they actually executed the Cardinal of Mexico City in front of the cathedral in a country that's basically a Catholic country. So what we've heard now is that the cartels and the Mexican drug gangs have spread above the United States border into our cities. So it's clear that there are a lot of honest Mexican people who don't feel safe in their own country. And that may be spurring part of the fact that to get out of there to an area where there's whatever. But here's a country that's clearly lawless, run by, as he points out, the elites don't want to have their problems there. They don't want to do whatever. And so you've got a very complex situation. But I think he could have phrased it in reference to his own immigrant mother in a way that all of us would understand, I think.
But does he want to? I mean, for
Well,
some
I don't
reason, God, he comes and urinates on somebody's sneakers, and they still want him to be the candidate.
There's no question, and I think that's part of what you would call his act. Because he's getting positive feedback and positive numbers. As much negative, it's like the old Howard Stern. The people who hate him listen to him longer than the people who love him.
Right.
But,
And it's the
yeah.
same thing with Trump. If Trump is still making the headlines and making the news, just like when you have a debate, this silly debate with 30 people, AM and PM, but still everyone said that Trump is going to be the one you talk about. Out of 30 people, he's going to be the one.
Yes.
And lo and behold, when it was all said and done, out of 30 people, the AM and PM debates, who were you talking about?
Right.
Him.
Most of it, I mean, what was it? Christie said he got 6.5 minutes during the debate to get his message out. And you sit there and say, okay, but why?
Well,
Why fundamentally are we letting Donald Trump
well,
dictate?
Part of it was just the numbers of people on the stage, number
Eddie,
one.
I'll buy the 10.
But the media have created their own reality in America. And another thing that a lot of the Trump supporters are really teed off about is the political correctness that's gone on in this country. And, you know, part of it is linked today. I had a friend of mine say to me, my goodness, I thought when we elected an African-American president, race relations would improve. He said that to me, and he goes, by any judge, even his mother and father said, what's going on? Things have not improved. Things have gotten worse. Now we see the media centering on police-involved stuff, and you have a consequence, I think, of it, almost a direct consequence, of cops being basically executed. And it's a horrifying thing to see. And what we hear the president talk about gun violence and not the hoodlums who are killing the people. That it's the gun who does it, not the hoodlum.
Right.
And so in our major cities like Chicago and others, a half dozen people a weekend are shot, okay? And it's like things are totally out of control, but I think this is what a lot of people are saying in the country is this political correctness, this jargon has gotten so far.
Parsing your words constantly.
Yeah, and that if a guy's going to call him like it is.
saving Trump a fortune. When you think about, he's saying, I will self-finance my run. Well, let's see.
not financing
How
it.
many Trump commercials have you seen? He doesn't need it.
No?
No,
He
but-
comes over and kicks you in the leg, and the media runs around saying he's kicking Morins.
Yep.
He has more FaceTime on free FaceTime.
That's my
on
point.
But
now
that's-
you
but
think
that's a talent.
You think about it. That's right. He has created attracting free publicity to an Olympic sport. Okay, he's put himself in a position where he's so provocative, but he's provocative in the right areas that he's on every news channel. So if you had, let's say, in the past 5 months, maybe 25 days total of your face exposed on television, you'd be leading in the polls too.
Yeah.
They just had Meet the Press 2 weeks ago, I think it was. It was the highest Meet the Press ever. Chuck Todd did almost the entire hour interviewing Donald Trump. And they had the board reacting to him. This man took a full 1 hour Meet the Press.
A barrage, I'm sure,
It
too.
was
Not
unbelievable.
a lot of friendly faces there either.
And it was the highest rated Meet the Press that they've had
Here's
ever.
my problem, though. I don't feel the substance
But isn't
under
it,
the rhetoric yet. We'll build a wall.
yes, but the question is, shouldn't we shouldn't be criticizing the man, we should be criticizing the media that's satisfied with this pablum. And the question is, I always look at it as a Republican who's been doing it for a while. It's no secret that 90+% of the media are Democrats, and that's how they vote.
But Ed,
So-
for years you've been saying the
Liberal.
liberal media
Well,
is
wait.
always against.
No, but they are. But this is what I'm trying to finish. I'm going to finish the argument. Is they are bringing Trump forward because he's the least electable, in my view, of the candidates that are the least electable on an electoral college in any sense of political science. And why not bring him forward? Okay, that's the question. The thing that I find interesting is that his sucking the oxygen out of a lot of things is sort of taking some of the sunlight or the spotlight or the burn off Hillary Clinton. And
Sure.
And that's another thing I think we should get into.
We'll
in-
talk
no,
about that in a
yes,
few minutes, but
yeah.
But if you see, when the media puts Trump all over the news and all over the television, I believe they do it because in their hearts, they think they're harming the party.
Absolutely.
They think they're doing damage to the party. They're trying to show how extreme the Republican Party is. They want to make Donald Trump. They want to make the Republican Party.
they want to make him the
Donald
banner.
Trump.
He
They
is
wanna
the
make
banner
him-
child.
I
him-
believe that. I believe that to a point, but also I believe, let's be honest, he's good TV.
Oh, of course.
And they're about ratings, so
I gotta tell you,
I do believe
he's
that that
great
is
TV. I
true,
think it's
but let's be
more-
honest, he's good TV.
It's
It's a
more
combo.
about the
I
advertising.
think
combo.
yes, but I definitely think that's true, and I don't mean to discount that, but let me tell you, he's good TV.
If he
He
was
is.
bad TV, I mean, look what just happened to your idol Al Sharpton, right?
What happened to him now?
Well, his nightly
Richly
show,
deserved.
Yeah.
you know, they said
His
now
nightly show?
nightly show has been moved to every Sunday. Now, he took the position.
At 2 a.m., right?
I don't know when, but he took the position saying, I'd rather be Martin Luther King than, you know,
Well, how many times has Al Sharpton visited the White House?
well, but
That will
see,
be my
Eddie,
question. Too many.
I guess what I'm getting
Yeah.
to is
Yeah.
the reason
Yeah.
that was given for basically canceling 6 out of 7 days was that A, he was too controversial.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
And B, the ratings were low.
This is on MSNBC,
Yeah.
too controversial?
Yeah.
But, you know, you think, and what I heard was, yeah, too controversial.
it?
No,
Yeah.
the ratings
His
were too.
no one would advertise on the show, probably,
that's
that's
it.
the
Well,
point.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
You always follow the money.
Yep.
And you know what? Trump is big
The-
money.
But see, what Chris is saying, I believe, if
a
I
combo.
can put Trump up, Rand Paul, Trump, how many people are going to watch an hour of Rand versus an hour
yeah.
of...
Well, it depends. It depends. You know, like you say, how many people are going to watch an hour of Rand Paul? Now, Rand Paul spent July down in Haiti doing eye surgery.
Doing surgery pro bono.
Pro bono on.
Why don't we know
on
that?
poor- Well, how many people do you think would have watched an hour show about that, or a half-hour
think they
show
might have.
about that? I think people would have watched it. Him going into the
But
villages.
remember, he's a
said-
Republican, they're not gonna put it on.
But
So,
what
let's get
what
real.
would happen?
So.
What would happen? People would start looking and saying, "Wow, Rand Paul is a Republican, and he's doing pro bono surgery for poor people. He's doing cataract surgery. People who live in these huts, they don't have running water,
Yep.
they don't have electricity, and they can't see, and he's doing cataract surgery on them and restoring their eyesight. Now, what would that do for the Republican brand in the eyes of the media?
That's precisely why the media won't run it.
That's right.
So,
Well, I mean, people have said Rand Paul could have been the Republican who saved the party from itself.
Well,
he
again,
still
but
may be.
most of
Yeah, and he
the, but
still
most
may
of the
be, as I
people who
agree with
say
that,
those
yeah.
things have the downfall of the party in mind when they do it, particularly the media talking heads. It's interesting, you know, we take like National Public Radio, which is funded by the taxpayers, and to say that it's sort of off to the left would be a little.
It's like saying Reagan was too liberal.
Exactly. But I think, you know, I think part of it is that Trump will see now there's a pulse going on. It's obviously a while till the New Hampshire primary. I believe it's in February. The Iowa caucus is in the New Hampshire primary. So we'll see what the fate of the country, because if we were on the last show, we would have never predicted this would have happened.
Yeah.
We also wouldn't have predicted that Hillary's numbers and her problems have multiplied the way they have, that there's some big dogs making noise
Yeah.
to
But
run.
isn't she the happiest one that Trump is stirring the pot?
Yes, but he does know how to criticize her in very clear ways, and even in the house of cards, I think for her is starting to come down, and I think the interesting thing is, do we want to get into? Do we want to?
Sure, but I mean, doesn't this
Well,
feel like
that's right,
8 years?
yeah.
This is deja now.
the-
But for the record, I don't think Hillary's ever been happy.
Well,
at least since I've known her.
Guys, 8 years ago, Hillary was the anointed one, and then boom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she's
Is this the
But she
start of
doesn't-
the
she
same?
doesn't- Unlike Trump, she doesn't know how to do the retail politics.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the thing is,
But
Did-
Ed, basically, you've got a candidate for president. Here's my problem. I think the woman's brilliant. She's very smart. Hillary.
Oh,
You
yeah,
she's
okay.
very
Maybe,
intelligent.
I think
Okay,
she's a
sure.
very good
She's
politician.
very
too.
effective.
I don't think she's a
But-
good politician, no.
I
But
don't
she's
know, good
dishonest.
politician, but now I sit there and say,
You
now,
have to like people.
the
Well.
president of my country do I want to believe the president is honest and trustworthy? Personally, yes. Do I want to believe they're above corruption? Yes.
Hopefully,
And then I listened to her spouse
yes.
come out and say, when they asked him, well, Bill, if Hillary wins and you're in the White House, will you continue to give these $500,000 seminars?
Yes.
And when he said, well, of course, I have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Now, for somebody who's supposed to be representing the people, now I guess they've owned, I don't know what the exact number is, 100, 120 million, you know, what's 10 million amongst friends that they've earned in the last few years?
Yeah, on what, exactly? Influence peddling.
Coincidence? Oh, no.
Yeah.
The fact that somebody gives them $500,000 and then by coincidence they help, but why would you stand up and rub my nose in it?
Because you're brazen. But I think the thing that comes with them is, the interesting fact is, like you talked about Donald Trump, as controversial as he is, and maybe it's more among men than women, there's a like factor there. Well, unlike, it must have been always a problem with Hillary because she knew exactly what Bill was like, because they made their arrangement many years ago to share power and share whatever. She cannot even mask the fact that she is disdainful of meeting people that aren't in super control situations. And it's interesting that the more she's become known and the more her serious candidacy, her numbers have plummeted, even among the female voters, because she strikes people as, well, you said that she's probably never been a happy person, but in addition, she's not a pleasant person, someone that you would want.
Not
And-
somebody you want to have dinner with.
No.
There's no question.
And the other
If you-
question is, you call it the trust factor. And sum it all up with the trust factor, and you go through all the escapades, through all the years, right up to the current moment, you know, the emails, the Clinton Foundation, which is amazing in its scope and corruption, and the Benghazi situation.
You know, Eddie, I just had the
Yeah.
Lions on.
Yeah.
The Milford Lions.
Yep.
And they're talking about how 100% of the check I gave them personally
Sure.
goes towards
Towards-
helping.
Helping, yeah.
You know, and they say, okay, our international, there's some admin, but it's a tiny,
Yes,
tiny.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then I don't know whose numbers to believe on the Clinton Foundation, because I've heard 10% goes to the actual cause.
Good grief.
Yeah.
But then I've heard that was totally misconstrued. It was really 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still awful.
Yeah.
But,
And I'm
but
sitting there
it's,
saying,
That's
okay,
still awful.
let's go with 20%.
it's probably more in the middle, like 3%.
Well, but,
So the
but
Cl-
Bobby, if it's 20%, 80% of the money you raise goes to you.
So that
Yeah.
indicates
There's no
that that is no more than a loophole to finance political ambition
Yes.
and influence.
And
because-
so-
There's no question.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that you're seeing here where Hillary is now in the spotlight again for a national thing. But what does the spotlight show? It shows your skeletons. And that's why when she's not in the spotlight, that's why when she comes out and you're seeing this, and you're seeing things with these emails and everything else. I mean, when you talked about money and corruption, I mean, there was a thing now where there was an email, and I just read today, about how she is very much against for-profit schools.
Okay.
But then they go in the past and they found out that one of her emails was specifically to invite for-profit colleges to state events. So
Don't
these
tell-
people she invited then made Bill an honorary
gonna say,
chancellor
wait a second.
from 2005 to 2011, in which he was paid $16 million
Right.
to be an honorary chancellor.
But that was a coincidence.
Well,
Very strange.
I mean, don't you remember when they asked Bill, didn't he see a correlation between these
yes.
foreign
Donations
countries and individuals making large
and
donations
her actions as
and
secretary. of State.
Hillary's actions?
Yeah.
And he, with a straight face, he looked, he said, well, actually, I asked Hillary if one had anything to do with the other, and she said no.
No.
Well,
Of course.
I think
Well,
I
but-
think though what you're seeing though is
Plausible
But
deniability? Is that what it is?
You know, you know that Hillary Clinton is the, she's living, breathing contradiction. She talks about the war on women, yet she pays the women on her staff 30% less than she pays the men on her staff.
Amazing.
Okay? You know, when you read about her history in the White House, when Bill was in the White House, you know, there was a description of Hillary, when Hillary would leave her office and they would hear her heels on the floor, all of the staffers would disappear. They've all been instructed not to speak to her. They would disappear in their offices, and she would walk down an empty hallway, and she would get to the other hallway, and as soon as the door was closed, and they described it like prairie dogs looking out of their holes after
Is it safe?
after the hawk is gone. That all the staffers would start looking out of the doorways like this.
Is it
And
safe to come
then-
out?
And then all the activity would proceed after that, because she's a dreadful human being.
Well,
And
you know, the
she's
problem I
dreadful to
have-
deal with.
It's the trust, number one, but the arrogance.
The
Yeah, it
question
just-
is,
it
the
strikes
question is,
me
do the
wrong.
rules we all try and live by, apply to them? And I think in most cases, they voted no on that.
I would say
By their
most
actions.
people believe
Yes.
no, that the Clintons
Yes.
believe they are.
Yes.
You know, and it reminds me of, to this day,
Above whatever.
Richard Milhouse, I believe, would have stayed
Mm-hmm.
president if he got up and said, I was stupid, I
Yep.
made a mistake,
Yes.
Absolutely.
please forgive me.
Yeah, of course.
But the
Absolutely.
country, in my mind, turned on Nixon
Yes.
when he put himself above the
yeah.
law.
And the difference between Hillary and Bill is Bill's got the charisma
Bill's
to do
likable.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
but he
do
can talk,
it.
the snake oil salesman.
That's right.
And you know, Bill can talk a dog off a meat wagon, but
yeah.
Hillary,
I
Can't.
mentioned this in an article we did in the town crier this week. Their first act when they came to the White House was to try and fire the professional travel staff called Travelgate and replace them with the McDougalls from Arkansas, their cronies. And they basically accused the staff of misuse of money. Well, they were totally, after the staff was smeared, they were hired back. Their last act, when they left, was to try and take $160,000 worth of White House furniture to decorate their homes in Chappaqua and New York. Now, okay, that's the beginning and the end. Now, you know, they would like people to dwell on his, you know, sexual escapades because that didn't cast anyone in a good light. But let's look at the other issues of corruption and basically an idea that, again, you know, things that people gave to the White House as gifts to the country, because that's what people give collections for, because they're so valuable, were their possessions. And Bill Clinton, till I guess recently, was joking with, I think, the Ukrainian foreign minister about stealing silverware from the White House. He thought it was a joke. So I guess when you bring those sorts of people, you know, around, Bill, as you say, could charm a dog off a meat wagon. I think the problem is the same problem that Jeb Bush has with having two President Bushes before him. There's the same thing with Bill Clinton. Served his office. He did well. He had a mixed government of Republicans and Democrats. Hillary doesn't have that. And she also has that confidant who is her personal assistant, who is
Iranian.
yes, who's Congressman and Mayor
Yeah.
candidate Weiner, the candidate, and of course we know what Donald Trump thinks of him,
Yep.
of his antics. So you have to wonder, you know, where we will be going, because the rise of Bernie Sanders, I don't see him. I see him certainly as a protest candidate on the Democratic side, and he's doing well in New Hampshire. He would, because he's from
But
Vermont.
is he just opening the door for Biden?
Well, he's opening the door for some big dog.
Right.
Yep.
And
I just don't know at this late
When-
The
stage.
other guy, who's the guy from Maryland?
but he was
Yeah.
O'Malley. He wasn't a very good
No,
governor.
not O'Malley. The other man from South Carolina, maybe, or North Carolina.
No, I
Yeah, but
Begins
they,
with a
they,
D.
there were
No,
two or
it's
three
true.
that flared up really, like real small flares and went away.
Yep.
But the media, again, we're trying to steer her to it. But I think what's happened, a lot of her problems. I saw something when Biden came back to D.C. and met in the vice president's house and invited Liz Warren to the, okay? Now, that's obviously a Bernie Sanders wing of the party. But I also saw something there that he may have because if anything, Joe Biden's a seasoned politician. He's been around for decades in the Senate and
Would
whatever.
he take Liz as number two?
Well, I was thinking Biden could come forward and say, by the way, given my age, which is not that old than
I
Hillary.
was going to say, wait a minute.
Yes, but that's a dig in a way
Yeah.
too. I'll serve one term, and if he picked her as the VP, she might be the quote heir apparent.
Yeah.
But one-term idea might be, hey, one term, I'm not going to be running for re-election. I'll come in and try and be a good candidate. But if he does become more serious candidate, you've got to look for the Clintons to go right after him because she, the other Democrats. And this is something I was going to say before. The one thing about the Democratic Party, which is unlike the Republican Party, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, who have great misgivings about Hillary. Okay? There's a lot of people who have great misgivings, which we'll talk about a bit, about this Iranian nuclear deal. But they vote loyalty, and they hold their nose and do it.
Eddie,
Yep.
if I'm a conservative,
Well,
no matter which of the Republican candidates
Yeah.
run, if I've got Bernie or Hillary or one of these, I don't know that you can say I'm
No.
voting because they're Republican.
no, I didn't mean the voting public. I meant the behind-the-scenes people who run these parties, both parties, the financiers, the people who have no more than Hillary's about politics. They're holding they're going, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
She's all we had because, the heir apparent, the money,
question.
the power, whatever. What are we going to do with all the misgivings? But still, there's a lot of them, just like they did in the Senate, they're going to do in the Senate, they still vote the front.
Right.
So I'm sure if you got some of them out somewhere and had to give them 3 or 4 drinks and say, what do you think of Hillary Clinton? You might get the truth, but you'll never get it on television.
No.
Republicans, on the other hand, tend to go on and
Oh,
go,
yeah.
well, this guy disagreed with me on this vote 3 years ago, and I don't like him, and I'm not going to vote for him.
Well, I just can't see, even the people out in the square states, the deep red.
Yeah.
Well, whether they like Donald or they like Ben or they, Rand, whether they like or hate them, they seem to vote with their wallets that they'll just stay home. But then it seems like, okay, in essence, you're voting for the other side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a school of thought that believes that Hillary is being taken down by the Obama administration.
Yes.
The Obamas have no love for the Clintons, not at all. And that by trickling out, 7 emails last week, 3,000 this week, a little bit more investigation, some redaction, and all this stuff. What they're doing is they're eroding her base, and what's happening is all of the donors, the big money donors, are starting to hold back, and
But
they're
now,
heading
Bobby,
for the high
here's where I'm
ground.
stuck.
Yeah.
We're having this debate when they release some of the
Yes.
emails that Hillary said you could read.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there shaking my head saying, my God, these were handpicked by her people
Yes.
and released.
Well,
We didn't get to
yeah.
see the ones that
but-
she said, but obviously none of those
well,
But
were-
now the FBI has her emails.
Yes.
Okay? And let me tell you something.
but they only have the one she let go.
No, they have the server.
they may
But
be
again, how do
Yeah.
you know it wasn't
But-
scrubbed?
but-
Yeah.
she
but-
destroyed thousands of emails.
But
Yeah.
nothing is going to leave the FBI office without the blessing of the administration.
Well, yes, but I want to do a little clarification, too. Let's make no mistake that if this were a President Bush, the federal bureaucrats would have leaked everything in the Western world.
Oh,
So Hillary's got a lot of, never mind the Obamas, Hillary's and Bill have a lot of supporters in these
Absolutely.
federal,
Sure.
among the federal bureaucrats. So the fact that it's been as damaged as it is, and I totally agree with you, the Obamas would certainly like someone to replace Obama who's not a Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, I sit there and say, wait a minute. These are the hand-picked emails that she said you could see.
Yes.
What do
I
you
would have
think?
more confidence, Bobby, if the FBI
Yes.
got an unscrubbed server
Sure.
and got the other 10, 20,000.
Interestingly, today, the man who set up her account took
Oh,
the
took
fifth
the
today.
fifth?
Yes,
He
the
took the
fifth.
fifth today. And she regretted that he took the fifth. I'm
Yeah.
sure she ordered him to take the fifth. So,
No question.
So, yeah.
Well, even the campaign is admitting that him taking the fifth is more damaging.
Oh, gee.
Oh.
So they'll
because
blame him.
he had nothing to hide,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Just like Vince
he was just
Foster
attacked.
didn't.
And
He
he
was just
committed
attacked.
no crime.
That's exactly
Right.
right. He was just the tech that set it up.
Right.
Poor
Yeah.
guy.
Now-
Why did I ever do what he's thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, he just doesn't want to endure the attention.
The final slap was when Edward Snowden, who, how many emails did he leak and destroy our security, criticized her for having a private email. Edward Snowden from the safety of Russia, who's basically a wanted, I guess he would be, don't they want to bring him up on treason charges, I believe, or something?
When you think of how many
And
lives
he criticized Hillary
he
Clinton.
endangered.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He said today that using the private email would leave it open. Now, the final nail in the coffin would be if any foreign intelligence service would ever admit, or someone else would admit, that they had access to our highly sensitive emails because they had hacked into it. Like the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Russians who have expert, as you know, they have expert hackers. If that happened, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Because,
And who knows what they could have accessed?
yeah.
Everything.
And I mean, that's the question.
But again, isn't it a systemic issue?
Yes.
She's saying, I was above the rules.
Yes. The rules don't
Of
apply to
course.
me
I
and
mean,
my
when
husband.
I heard the first time that she had a separate email,
Yes.
because she didn't want to carry two phones,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sitting there with my 3 email accounts on my cell phone, saying, okay, what am I missing here?
Yes.
But again, to me, maybe it's trust, but the other part is the arrogance.
The pattern's there.
But when you heard that she had 2 servers, how did that hit you?
Yeah.
But
you know-
again, it's the rules don't apply.
But what happens is when you get away with it for as long as they have, from Arkansas to the White House, then she's put in as Secretary of State as, I guess, a sort of a SOP, and he sets up the Clinton Foundation, which is basically a giant vacuum cleaner for the world to basically scoop up money and then, oh, by the way, honey, the Russian nickel mine magnate gave us this and that. What can we do for
Yeah,
him? And,
exactly.
well, let's check it out and do
Not
whatever.
what we can do for him, it's like he really wants this
Yes,
done.
yes. Can we,
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it a good idea we go do it?
Yeah.
But you look at, okay, so Trump, can he lead? Yes or no?
Could he lead the country?
Yes.
The jury's out on that. I think he signed the pledge today that he would run as a Republican. I agree with what a lot of Bob said. I think he wants to direct the country, the party, in a certain way. I wish, honestly, he had done the immigration thing totally different and done his own personal story and phrased it where, you know, the positive fact of immigration versus the negative. But yes, I think he's got potential.
But I've got an issue when
But-
Tom O'Laughlin, our police chief, comes on and he says, if we seal the borders, and
Yes.
technically we could,
Yes.
if we really said we're sealing the borders, we could.
Mm-hmm.
He said it would take 84 years to deport all of the illegals we have
but-
today.
Well, to move it from national to state, I don't think a lot of people know what's been going on in the state over the summer during the quiet times of trying to get bills passed to get immigration where we can move immigrants to where they do not have to provide identification to receive the benefits, the driver's licenses, to make this a sanctuary state. And that's happening during the summer when people aren't around and people aren't
The
listening.
Democrats in Boston.
And the Democrats in
Yeah.
Boston are doing that right now this summer while no one was around. They were trying to get these bills passed to make Massachusetts a sanctuary state. And
State.
basically what that is,
Cambridge already
is-
is a sanctuary
they
state.
wanted to make it a sanctuary state in which the members of this state do not have to report
I don't-
to the federal government illegal
Al-
But
immigrants.
Chris,
Al,
I don't understand. We have laws.
But Al, let's get
This
back.
was gonna trump them.
Let's get back to one thing. When people say to me, deport all illegal immigrants, I immediately suspect that they're not even in favor of it. Because, first of all, as Tom O'Laughlin said, it's an impossibility. But when the police chief of Brockton gets up and says, listen, if you could take 100 of these dreadful bad actors and get rid of them, my population, my city would be safer. We can't even deport them, like in San Francisco, the murderers, the killers, or whatever. So let's not talk about deporting people who are here for whatever. Let's try and talk about getting rid of the bad apples. And we can't even do that because there's no will for it.
Yep.
You know, the guy in San Francisco had been deported 5 times.
Right.
And what did he say? I came back to San Francisco because I knew it was a sanctuary city. And he just shot that girl.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason, he just shot her. And that has to touch a nerve in everyone.
Well, this is also happening. This is also happening in Europe right now as we speak, because Hungary's been,
Right.
had been engulfed.
Think of the razor wire that they're running.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, Greece, 700
Yep.
today?
Yeah. The world, and I think part of it's a reflection on the Obama foreign policy, especially with ISIS in the Middle East and in Africa
Syria,
with the
yeah.
Islamic
Certainly.
terrorists,
Yep.
is that there are a number of people in these countries, the ancient Christian and non-Muslim communities in these countries are being destroyed in many cases by these ISIS characters. And what you get is, well, we'll send over a couple of more drones and do this or that or the other
Yeah.
thing. And even our own Arab partners, like the Saudis, are no friends of ISIS or whatever, they don't have any confidence in us.
But now,
Yeah.
you look at the whole Middle East, we got this Iran agreement.
Yeah, which is a fraud.
It's just
There's no
absolute
Iran agreement.
silliness.
Yeah, yeah.
What it is, it's in Iran, it's a blessing.
Capitulation?
Yeah,
It's
really-
a
yeah,
blessing
it's
by
pretty
the
much- it's-
United
it's-
States of
it's-
America
yeah,
that
it's
you
long-
can
yeah.
develop long-range nuclear missiles. You can have all the money that we've had, the $50 billion that we've
Frozen.
kept, we've frozen in our banks. You can have it all.
And in 15 years, everything we said in this will lapse.
And
Because they'll all be out of office.
That's exactly right.
And we're going to have inspections. But you're
No,
going to do them
no,
yourself.
no, okay, now that one
The
really.
Iranians are going to do
And by
them
the way,
themselves.
can't you see John Forbes Kerry, okay?
Who served in
Our
Vietnam.
Secretary
Yeah.
of State looking for a Barack Obama Nobel Peace Prize for this. Of course, he'll probably be in the cemetery as we will be when Iran launches one of its first missiles and destroys the world.
Well, the part that just
Oh.
kind of hit me the hardest was, Bobby, tell me if you're a nice guy. Yeah, I'm a nice guy. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to inspect themselves.
Oh, yes.
It shows you how naive they are. They're either
question.
naive or diabolical.
Well,
And we had a
Oh.
big happening today in which the Democrats just gained their other vote. The retiring Democrat from Maryland, I can't remember her name.
Barbara.
Lebowski, yeah.
Barbara.
She just tossed her vote in, and now basically the way it's
They
holding
got
right now,
34.
they have
Well,
34.
but that's what I said before about.
So that was a big
even
happening today.
Even people who think the deal stinks are going to give him a vote.
Yeah.
I would dare to say, not many Republicans would do that, to their credit.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they want this legacy, and they know anyone who's studied John Forbes Kerry knows he's a phony. Okay, number one. I mean, he's been a phony.
Ed.
Well, I'm sorry, he's been a phony when he ran for president, when he got swift voted. It was revealed exactly what went on in Vietnam by his own colleagues
Sure.
who fought with him. Okay, but the thing is, he wants a legacy, and the legacy is, I want a peace. I don't know, why he became Secretary of State. I'm not sure, but I want a peace treaty with anybody.
Well, wait a minute. What do you mean, why? As a congressman or a senator,
Yes.
right? As somebody of 100 people,
Well,
even if you're a congressman, one of the 500
Yeah.
people, that's still, you can get kind of overlooked.
Well,
when you're Secretary of State,
now,
Yeah.
I'll say this, in saying that, I certainly respect his military service and all he did, but the question was, when his record came forward, his own colleagues there pointed out inconsistencies and people who had been Medal of Honor winners and others, and he was, quote, swift voted, which he could really never effectively answer because no one had really, again, analyzed his career.
but again,
Well, they didn't vet him. They didn't vet him
didn't vet
just
him.
like they didn't vet Obama.
Yeah.
you look and you say, now, wait a minute, what did we get out of this Iran deal? I'm looking for something.
Nothing.
We're going to get anything.
You're going to be looking for a long time.
What you got is
'Cause you're
you're
never
going to
gonna find
endanger Israel. And
Okay.
the irony
Right.
is that the fact is that Israel can hold out, but the irony is, it's a little more subtle than this. The Saudis, the Iraqis, and all of the people, their mortal enemy is Iran, okay, in the scope of things. So imagine if, and Iran is a very populous country, imagine if they were ever able to overthrow the Saudi government, because Saudi Arabia it's armed to the teeth, but it's a small population-wise. They've been spreading. They took over Yemen. I mean, Obama looked the other way while basically the Iranians came in. They have a really feared foreign intelligence service that's murdered people all over the world. The Shah of Iran's successor thing. So they're very centered people on what they want, and I think they've got their eye on the prize, and the prize, I think, is nuclear weapons, destroy Israel, but
No
he
question.
probably even more important, try and take Saudi Arabia out.
I guess what worries me there is everybody's quietly said, okay, we all kind of wink, wink, know Israel has nukes.
Yes.
But we're comfortable because they're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But now, are the Saudis going to be comfortable if the Iranians have nukes?
Yeah.
And they don't? You know, to me, you're just starting.
And I'm telling you right now that people don't talk about this often, that if they do not have oil, there's nothing there.
yeah.
And our whole world has basically decided that we want to move away from fossil, whether it's we're moving to natural gas, whether we're moving to solar, nuclear. Say someday we do get cold fusion or whatever crazy thing and we move away from oil. Can you imagine the turmoil if poverty starts to hit these areas
It
and
is-
they
I
have
think it
nuclear
is
weapons?
now.
I'm telling you. Well, they are
Yeah.
feeling it now with the cost of oil now in these countries quickly
Yeah.
going down in their
Well-
cash reserves. Let's just say oil does go to the way of the past. And yes, maybe it may be 30 years from now, but that's not a long time for me. I mean,
But see, one
and
of
if
the
they have
things
no
when-
money and they have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, but Chris, when you look at what the Saudi government, what Abu Dhabi, Dubai, the Emirates, they're investing
No question.
so that
'Cause
when
they
the
see
oil
future.
runs out,
They see the future.
they will have
Yep.
enough investment income.
But Iran is not
We-
doing
we-
that.
We brought this up in an earlier show, and anyone who's listening to the show can look at it. The United States has become the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world. It's because of the fracturing
oil.
process and
Yep.
the natural gas, better than Russia and whatever. And once the export of it's a lot, it could change the whole face of Europe,
No
because
question.
Europe's been very dependent on Russian pipelines. But this has happened, what, in 5-6 years now?
Right.
The Dakotas and that area out there, the economy's booming because of this, and
There's no
Canada as well.
And
Yeah.
that's why the price of oil has gone down so much too, because OPEC has specifically kept their production up because they're trying to starve out the North Dakotas,
Yeah,
the
but then that's
Virginia,
not
well,
gonna
but
happen.
you know,
stuff.
a lot
so they're
of,
trying to get rid of that.
a lot
if
of the
they-
shale,
Yeah.
a lot of the fracking,
Yeah.
at $45 barrels
Yeah.
of oil, it's not
You're losing
economical.
That's exactly
It'll-
right.
it'll
And that's the whole reason
Right.
that
It'll
they've-
come back.
But
that they've-
if they put in the Keystone Pipeline, where they can pipe it down
Yeah.
to Louisiana, and they can start exporting
Yeah.
the
Yep.
sweet crude that comes. The crude that they're getting out of the Bakken fields is called sweet crude,
Yes.
No
which is
sulfur.
which is high. It's already partly refined.
That's like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the butter,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cream of the
Basically,
crop.
when you look at heavy crude or
Yeah.
a heavy,
Heavy
Yeah.
crude is-
Russian
Yeah.
crude is
Russian
heavy, yeah.
crude is
you
sludge.
have to remove
Right.
a lot of the sulfur that's going to
Yeah.
hurt the cracking, the catalytic
Yeah.
converters that they
Yeah.
use.
And you also have to remove the junk that's in
Yeah.
it. And
That was-
before you
that was-
get it
yeah.
down to something that's
That was
refinable.
Gaddafi's ace in the hole, because the Libyan oil was also of that quality, very high quality
Light-
oil.
light
that
sweet.
and near the surface, so.
And if you can
a
get
strange world.
someone to work on getting automobiles that run on natural gas, all bets are off as far as oil's concerned.
Well, they
Yeah.
just found that huge field off of Egypt.
Yeah, imagine, yeah.
And
You
but
know,
they
in the
they have
Mediterranean?
they have
Yeah.
them they have them in Alaska. They have them
Yeah.
in Montana and the Dakotas. These huge gas fields that.
So the Iran deal's going through.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it appears so.
I mean, he's got 34. Barbara McCluskey made 34. We're
Well,
done.
what happened was also, let's just give a little criticism to our Republican majority in the Senate. They made an arrangement, a process how this would develop that almost guaranteed there was a high hurdle to defeat it.
Yeah.
They had arranged a process. If it had been an up-down vote that could have been filibustered or whatever, you would have had Republicans talking forever. But Mitch McConnell got conned or talked into something, and so this has sort of made this possible. But as I say, I think the Iranians looked at John Kerry, looked at Obama, and said, these people need a deal more than we do. We're going to pretend we need
Sure.
a deal more than they do, but they want it for the wall
for the
on
legacy,
resume.
No question.
I mean, during the negotiations, in periods of time where they weren't negotiating, they were over there screaming "Death to America." You know, on their television
Oh, it's
stations.
beautiful.
I mean, really.
Yeah, that's all a misunderstanding.
Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
Do you
Lost
dare
in
take
translation.
on the Planned Parenthood controversy?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't.
Well, Planned Parenthood, basically, right now, it's been revealed what they're doing. And now everyone that is back to Planned Parenthood knows what they're doing, and now they have to stand up and be counted. Are they going to continue to back them, or are they not going to continue
But
to
Bobby,
back them?
do you throw out the whole
Well,
You know what I
company?
did?
I have no problem if somebody broke the law.
but,
If there were bad apples,
yes, but Al.
nail them.
Al,
They-
they claimed for years Planned Parenthood meant that a small percentage of their activities were on abortion and the rest are on birth control things. It seems to be that it might have been a small percentage, but it was a very lucrative money-making one. And when people hear, I guess what bothers me is, you hear people who would talk about a whale being mistreated, a dog being mistreated, and by the way, I love dogs, or any other thing, and then they talk about, the way they talked about human life was a cavalier, I guess would
But
be the
isn't
word.
the solution to fix the issue?
Now, hold on for a minute. Hold on.
How do you?
Well, if you're saying trafficking in fetal parts
Right.
was the issue, then anybody involved, I agree with you. That's just wrong. Get rid
But
of
why
it.
was it never brought up till now? It was covered up till people went in and did a sting on them because people chose to ignore it. Because they believe the thing, the
But now
Planned
you've
Parenthood
got-
said that.
You've got some poor areas in the country that a lot of health care for women is only available
Wait,
through Planned
wait,
Parenthood.
But I
But
don't-
isn't that what Obamacare is supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So why do we need Planned Parenthood any longer?
No, but what I'm
because
that's what-
Obamacare
that's-
works so well.
Yeah, I was just
Obamacare-
gonna say.
No, but
Obamacare is
yeah.
there.
But what I said before was that we let this group get away with saying that a tiny fraction of their things were on abortions. Now, let's get the big picture. The number of abortions in the country is declined drastically with the new generations of people and certain birth control methods that are used. Plus, also, I think the people are just, there's
Higher awareness.
yes,
Being
and they're
smart about it,
delaying certain things.
Okay.
So that's in effect solved part of the problem. But I can remember hearing for years, don't attack Planned Parenthood because the vast majority of this thing is on birth control advice and whatever. And now we seem to think that the lucrative part of it that funded it was directed at this.
But then, again, to me, it's a surgical thing. Go in and cut out the part.
But why
that
did
shouldn't be
it
happening.
why did it take a group that's going to be sued and criticized to find this out? Why didn't Dudley Do Right find this out or something? Because no one chose to.
And
to
again,
look at it.
Eddie, I don't know why, what,
well-
but I look and I say a lot of the STD testing, a lot of the contraception, it isn't available except through Planned Parenthood.
I don't think that's true.
No.
I think that's the propaganda they spread.
Yes.
But I don't think that's true at all. There's Planned Parenthood in Milford, okay, but yet there's several places in Milford that you can get tested for an STD free of charge without going to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
But I always hear it's down south and, the
of
rural
course
areas.
you
Again,
hear
well,
it
yeah,
down
okay, that's convenient because it's out of sight, out of mind, but I don't believe
Okay.
it.
But it isn't down south. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. And the people in the rural areas have to go to Atlanta to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
their business.
Yeah.
And it's in Savannah. and
That's
it's in,
such a loaded topic, and it's so, I'm sure even the people who say there's a right to certain things have to go. I mean, there are actually people out there who will say, well, a human being isn't a human being until it's born, so whatever happens to whatever is true. But this is why many people want to not allow pictures of babies who are 7 or 8 months developed because they're human, they're functioning or whatever. But artists, again, let's not look at it. So I think it's an interesting thing. But I think we'll see what
But
comes
it's
from it.
hard,
this
Ed,
is why-
because I've heard people say a fertilized embryo is the beginning of life.
It is.
Well, the
But
beginning,
then
yes.
why do we allow in vitro fertilization centers to kill
After
more
some-
embryos than anywhere? Yet an IVF, we all think is pro-family, but when they harvest 32 eggs
Yes.
and they fertilize them,
But
You got 30 kids.
But let's keep this in scale. We're at a totally different area of discussion to what we're talking about when a child is about to be born and this happens.
no,
So
there's no
I mean, we could talk about we may maybe think about planning to, but when people make these choices or when healthcare providers seem to be staring. And I guess the thing that struck me is I watched a couple of the tapes, was the people thought it was sort of funny at the Planned Parenthood thing, making the remarks about.
But see, those people to
And-
me
and-
should be just,
Yeah,
But,
but gone.
you know what really got me? What really got me was when I watched the video of the baby that was born alive,
Oh,
and they said that they cut right through his head to get the intact brain.
My God,
Okay, you're telling me that
No.
2015 United States
Bobby,
of America,
I can't-
someone is
I
cutting open a
cannot
child's head
even
to
fathom.
take the brain.
I cannot
Okay.
even
That's
fathom.
murder in the.
Yeah.
that's
That
almost-
and
That to me, that's murder.
That
and
is
that
murder.
and that is something that
No one,
savages.
I hope no one could defend.
But
That-
you know
that's-
something? If I was Planned Parenthood and I was really believing I'm doing, 99% legit, I'd invite in independents and say, monitor everything I do.
but they're
Absolutely.
not-
If
they're
they're
not-
there
they're
to-
not-
and,
yeah,
and
no,
now
not gonna
they're running
happen.
commercials. They're running commercials, and all these people are getting up saying how they received this and that from Planned Parenthood. and
they probably-
this
they might
and
have,
that, and they're trying. Well,
But I mean, if they really believe in what they're doing, it's like, Chris, I think you're on heroin. I'd like to test you, or you can't be part of this group.
Yep.
You'd turn around and say, here,
Yep.
go ahead. You test me anything but caffeine, go ahead. I have nothing to worry about. And that's, I guess, the problem I have is,
But-
okay, if there's issues, clean them up.
But see, I
But
look.
it's that mentality that we have now. I mean, it's just you don't answer for your own things. Like, why do I have to provide my license when I have to vote? What's the big deal if you're a legal resident and you
Well,
go to the
I mean,
voting
come on,
place?
that
show
one
me
makes
your
me
license.
laugh. If I want to get
So
on
it's
an
just-
airplane.
But it's just the type of mentality where I don't have to
I want to
defend
get on an
myself.
airplane.
Yep.
Go argue with TSA that I'm not going to
Yeah.
give you
Yeah.
a government ID that I'm
Security.
getting on the
hey,
airplane.
Yeah,
you know what? I bought ink down at Staples today, and I had to show them my license because I was paying by check. Okay,
But see, again,
but I
you
don't
turn
have
around
to
and
show
say,
my
"Wait a minute,
license to vote.
To vote,
Yeah.
Yes, but.
But I just meant that mentality of why do I have to defend
I
myself?
agree.
And
But
the
great-
topic is
the dreaded country of Mexico. When you vote, you provide by law a voter ID to vote in Mexico. But up here, we've got the Reverend Al and other people who throw the racist word out and say anytime you want
yeah, but
proof
then
of someone
why
working.
aren't they going after American Airlines?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but
Logan
it's-
Airport.
but because they're making people are making money by
Right.
presenting these issues in the
Yep.
way they are.
Yep.
And that's the point is, it's all about the money.
Well, as I said when we
Yes.
started, I thought tonight would get exciting.
I was boring.
And
Yeah.
in about a couple, 2-3 months, when we get back together, maybe we'll have some answers to who are the candidates and are we still being entertained or are we getting serious about who we want to lead this country?
Fasten your seatbelts.
Absolutely.
So as
It's gonna be a
always,
good ride.
may God bless and may tomorrow be a better night than tonight. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Not too long since I've been